Okay.
Let me know when we're live. Are we live?
I think so.
I think we're live. We think we're live.
Mm-hmm.
So, welcome to a very, very special edition of the Tech Tuesday live show for the 28th of November, right? The 28th, right? I think so. And so, yeah, so you'll notice things are a bit weird today. I don't know if you can see my panelists because my camera control, I can't see what's going on right now. But we have two special guests today at the same time. It's called a panel. It's awesome. Bear with us. We have our mic set up kind of experimentally and stuff like that. So I think we should be good on audio and video and everything. I think we should be golden. But if we're not, let us know in the comments, and we probably won't be able to do anything about it. But at least we'll know. So yeah, so today we are talking about, hey, there I am, sweet. Thank you very much. So today we are talking about net neutrality, and that's why we have our small panel here. So let's just get to it. Why don't we? So the first sort of question that we have, of course, if you're watching and I said net neutrality and you don't know what that is, you've probably heard that word before. It's been in the news before a couple of years ago, and it's in the news again. But so the first question for my panel is, what is net neutrality? So what is it, and why is it so important? And before we answer that question, though, I think we should introduce the panelists. So what's your name?
My name's Sharayah, and I own a small business in Eugene with my husband, which is run primarily online, which is why net neutrality is important to me.
All right, thank you very much, Sharayah.
My name is Sam Foster. I'm a software engineer at Mozilla. And Mozilla is very much interested in net neutrality. I mean, it's fundamental to what we do and believe in.
Mm-hmm.
It's keeping the internet and the web open.
Thank you very much, Sam. So that leaves us. We've said this word, net neutrality all the time. But so first, Sharayah, what is net neutrality to you? What is it?
So net neutrality, the first thing that I think of when I hear that is just having access to information, no matter what browser you're using, no matter what internet provider you're using. I can type in a website and know that I'm going to get to it. And it also means that I know that as a small business, I can compete with larger businesses because I'm not having to pay extra fees in order for my website to show up on certain browsers or to be as fast as I want it to be. So basically, that's kind of my simple definition without getting too engrossed in it.
Yeah. And then Sam, what is net neutrality?
Net neutrality it describes the internet we have today, basically. It's this idea that between you and the website or the service you're trying to use, there's no one making decisions about whether you get to access that or whether that should be, faster than another competitive service or anything like that. It's just you and them, and there are pipes in between you and them, and those pipes are maintained by the ISPs, the service providers.
So service providers like Comcast or
right,
Comcast.
Typically a cable provider.
AT&T,
I guess.
AT&T. And that's true for your phone. It's true for your laptop at home. It's true for your office.
And I think that's fantastic. I should also just note, I think, sort of what the definition of net neutrality is, and it's basically like the just pure definition. Like if you were to look it up on Wikipedia, I think, and this is off the top of my head, I don't have Wikipedia in front of me, is basically net neutrality is the idea that all data on the internet has to be treated the same, right? So whether you're watching a video on Netflix, browsing Facebook, or going to some website in some weird corner of the internet that hardly anyone ever visits, that data has to be given to you at the same speed by your internet service provider. That's basically the idea, right?
Right.
And so going to our next question. So the FCC, the Federal Communications, what What does FCC stand for?
Federal Communications Commission.
Federal Communications Commission. They are looking to, right now they're working on voting to roll back net neutrality regulations. So, and that's why net neutrality is in the news right now. So, if they succeed in rolling back these net neutrality regulations, how could things change? How could that make things different here in America?
I think one of the biggest things that has stood out to me when I've obviously been having a lot of conversations and reading about it is just the idea that it can act sort of like, I guess to use the analogy, like a parental control, that if I'm paid for Comcast, they can decide what I can and cannot access. And for some reason, that just really makes me so irritated, because it reminds me of when I was young and in school, and you would try and get on a website, and like the best blocker would come up, and that brown dog would tell you can't access this. So I just imagine sitting there, and especially having just been a student, imagine sitting there and trying to access something for school or research and having it come up that I haven't paid for that premium service, or Comcast doesn't provide access to that website, because basically what removing this could do, removing net neutrality could do, is allow ISPs to pick and choose what access you have as a consumer. And they're going to act as your parental guardian, except they're getting paid to do that. So they're going to be able to accept money to essentially make certain websites faster, and that money is obviously going to come from larger corporations. And it's going to come from people that have the money, and those that don't have the money to be able to access it or compete are the ones that are going to be hurt by it. We do hear them saying other things like, they're just trying to get rid of net neutrality so that they can only offer you the packages that you want. But again, that's them deciding what you want. It's not you getting to decide. And while it may sound appealing if you're someone that only uses social media and you don't care about access to like news websites or streaming services, you have no idea what the pricing is going to look like or what that access is going to be like at all at this point. So.
But I love bringing up the back to school, because I remember when I was in school, those old blockers, and I don't want to go back to that. I don't want that in my life anymore. I want to be able to go wherever I want. Sam, for you, how do you have anything to add to how things might change here in America?
Well, I think so. I grew up in the UK where we don't have, or at least I didn't have cable television. So coming to America and being exposed to what you call television over here was just horrifying. So it's hard to, and I think that's kind of why this is a little bit complicated, is because basically what the ISPs, the large ISPs, the large cable providers want to do is to move more like a cable model. They want to be able to offer packages and say, you've got the premium package, you can download Netflix at full speed, full high resolution, but we also have this other package which is cheaper, and that doesn't let you run any peer-to-peer services. It doesn't let you, or you can maybe use Netflix, but you're going to get kind of slower or lower resolution images, and who knows? I mean, they'll put together packages in much the same way we're speculating that they want to go towards something like that, the way they treat cable. And cable is horrific. I mean, if you compare the cable experience to what you get on the internet, on the internet and the web as a whole, you're the one that decides. As a consumer, you decide what you want to see, when you want to see it, and it's up to you. I mean, you still pay for fast bandwidth, right? You're still paying for a quality of service. That is not. We're not saying that will go away.
Yeah.
But and then as a provider, as someone who has content that you want to get to your customers, which is more likely where we'll see the impact. They'll then end up in some kind of a bidding war, or they'll have to pay it's almost like a tithe, right? It's like a tax or a toll road. Say, I want to be I want to unthrottle the bandwidth between me and my customers. And that becomes a leverage that the ISPs have, or would have, but they don't today. Today they're obliged to provide equal access to everyone.
But yeah,
I was just going to say, I think even what's important about looking at the versus cable and how cable's just a mess and everything is that you can't treat internet the same as cable because internet allows two-way communication, whereas television is only one-way communication. You can't apply for a job on TV. You can't really do research to earn a degree on television. So it's like taking a system for something completely different and trying to apply it, and it just doesn't make sense.
It also goes back to your original example, right? You'll be browsing the internet, and then all of a sudden, pops a page saying, "Hey, you can't view this page unless you have the proper plan." Because what we're probably be seeing with what Sam, what you were talking about, what we'll probably see isn't necessarily like a microtransaction kind of thing, where it's like, hey, in order to, view this page, pay $5. It'll be, in order to view this page, you need to get our platinum plan for $150 a month kind of thing, right? Is potentially what we're looking at, right? So, so I think that is going to sort of combine those two ideas, because that's really what we might be seeing, which is terrifying.
I do agree too that at the beginning it probably will impact businesses more in terms of reaching the consumer, because that's where the money's going to be at for them. For the big ISPs in the first place is going after larger corporations and businesses that can afford to pay, and that's who they're going to go for first.
So we should point out that right now, what's the issue is that ISPs want to be able to remove the regulations that require them legally to provide equal access. But they're saying that the market will decide that they will give us a verbal promise that, they'll never do anything like that. Right? I understand that. I just think, so all these ISPs are all publicly traded companies. They actually have a legal obligation to make money for their shareholders.
Yeah.
So it's empty promises. They can't make promises like that. If they have a lever that they can apply, they have to apply it.
Yeah.
We just do have to remember too that these are the same companies that have been under investigation for selling our information illegally and throttling data legally. So if they're going to make promises, verbal promises, I'm not really sure if that's something that we can count on.
Yeah. So I guess sort of the point of that thought is basically it's like we're talking about what might happen, right? But we're coming from a position more of not necessarily that this might happen, but that this will probably happen. Right, because it's a way for the ISPs to make more money, which they are legally obligated to do, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of I think that is a very good point. But let's move on to this question. So we've talked about some of the impacts that removing net neutrality can have, sort of in general. But how could it affect your business, like personally for what you do? Sharayah, how could it affect you?
A big part of what my business does, me and my husband run a set of about 23 different blog websites and authority websites on various topics, and we rely primarily on SEO, search engine optimization, to be able to compete. So we can rank organically without having to pay to compete against big companies. We have pages that are outranking larger companies.
Search engine optimization, that's basically what you're doing is making it so that when you Google,
phrases,
or Bing or whatever, other search engines are available, but they're not as good. When you Google it, your website might come up above other websites.
Exactly.
So that's what search engine optimization is.
Yes, so exactly. So with that, we're able to compete with some larger websites and outrank, Target or Best Buy or other websites for products, and we're able to do that organically. So we started our business pretty much from nothing. My husband started it from his bedroom like 3.5 years ago with not a lot of money invested into it.
And there's a great article on the Eugene Tech blog about moving out of the bedroom that you might want to check out.
So, so we are able to compete, and for us there's a lot of questions on whether or not we'd be able to if some changes took place. And I think he and I have really discussed that probably it would be extremely gradual. It's not going to be like as soon as the axe drops and whatever, but that it's going to slowly take away our ability to compete. And that's where we see it mostly impacting us, is that there won't be that organic ability to outrank anymore. It'll be a financial ability to compete, and that's not something we really see being able to do.
Sam?
Well, I guess I can speak as a consumer, and also as a Mozillian. So, Mozilla's whole mission is to keep the open web accessible to everyone. Mozilla was kind of got started around in the. I won't give you the whole story. A quick story. Why it's relevant to Mozilla. So back, 10 years ago or so, we had a situation where there was essentially a monopoly on web browsers. Internet Explorer was basically what 90+% of the world used to get to the web. And that put Microsoft in a very powerful position. They could decide how the standard, how websites could be made, and they could also start to make decisions about what services or what vendors would get surfaced through their browser.
Because if you have special code or something that doesn't work with Internet Explorer, but everybody's using Internet Explorer, right? It's just deal with it.
And they would put their search engine hypothetically or their services first. That's the one that's built into the browser, and if you don't like it, tough. So Mozilla came along and said, there really needs to be a viable second browser, an alternative browser that doesn't have these financial incentives stacked up against the user. And so Firefox happened, and that was actually quite successful at breaking that monopoly. Mozilla was also part of the effort to bring Microsoft to court and say that's actually a monopoly, you're not supposed to be able to do that. So we kind of won a battle. Obviously, the battle continues, and so this is probably the biggest existential threat to Mozilla and the open web as a whole right now. It's kind of the wedge, the foot in the door that starts to really. We've built this amazing thing, this amazing kind of commons that we've got with the web. And we've been celebrating that. We've had businesses, we've had whole lifestyles, just an incredible amount of change and innovation that takes place on the web. And that's threatened. It's threatened in the US specifically because of what the FCC is trying to do. But also, there's a trickle effect, a ripple effect rather, that happens from that. People tend to look at the US as being, as an example on the world stage. So it's fairly apocryphal as far as Mozilla is concerned.
Because theoretically, and it's doubtful this would actually happen, but theoretically, if Mozilla, angered Comcast or whatever, Comcast could, if without net neutrality, could just say, well, you can't download Firefox. But they could theoretically.
Potentially, right.
It's unlikely to happen, but we don't want to live in a world where that's possible.
Firefox is a means to an end, right?
Yeah.
Firefox exists so that people have an alternative, so that there's a voice at the table that says that the internet doesn't belong to this government or that company, and so it's almost like an end run around Firefox, and it's not just Mozilla. Obviously, lots of people that advocate for the open web.
Oh yeah. And I think the second part of that question was, so why should somebody who isn't part of an internet company care about net neutrality? But I think we've kind of already talked about that with what net neutrality is, what it would mean if it goes away. We're looking at potentially the internet being provided on a like a cable type model, and that's just.
There are lots and lots of analogies, right? You can think about it as a toll road, right? Where you're saying, so maybe the toll road is free. There's a barrier there, but the barrier is always up, and you can just drive there. And that's kind of that's where we're poised today, right? That's what they want to be able to do. They want to be able to put the toll gate in, but they're saying, we're never going to close that gate. That gate is always going to be open. You'll be able to keep doing what you do, right? But there's always that potential that one day you'll arrive at the toll road, and they gated it down, and it says, oh, you need to pay to get past. Or you can get past it, you can only be in the slow lane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's.
Or only if you go into a particular destination. Right?
Yeah.
Or you're gonna look over and see all these other cars going on a totally different way that you don't have access to.
It's hard because it's quite abstract right now. It's hard to make it really tangible and real. So that's one analogy. There's probably lots of others, like going into the library and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're only supporting HarperCollins books right now. We can't get any other publishers."
Or even if you think about it as a utility, one of the things that I heard was like, because I think of it as a utility, not a luxury, because of how often I use it.
Yeah.
Is like if the water company decided that, well, you don't need clean water because you can just boil it, but if you want clean water, you can pay a premium if you don't want to have to boil your water anymore.
That's right on point, because actually what the FCC is specifically trying to do is that right now, the services they provide are classified under what they call Title II, which basically puts them in the same group or the same classification as a utility. Right? And you can't have your water company deciding, I'm sorry, our new sponsor is Coca-Cola, and you can only get bottled water from us today.
Yeah.
It's got to be, everyone should be able to turn on the tap and expect to get clean water.
And so to sort of wrap up. So net neutrality, we don't want it to go away. I think we have consensus about about that. So the real question is, and this is probably the hardest question to answer, especially with the current situation. But what can we do? What can the people at home do? What can the people standing around this room watching our panel do? How can we take meaningful action? How can we try to stop this from happening?
Right. So I'm sure a lot of us have probably seen like the contact your legislators and things like that going around. It's really important that you sign those and try to get in contact, because legislation and making laws to protect net neutrality could be really important. I think it was India that just passed legislation today that was some of the strongest out there to keep net neutrality a thing. So that is step one. And then one of the things that I believe I actually saw on Mozilla, I was reading an article. Again, I've read so many articles, so I don't want to say that it was absolutely Mozilla, but just saying like use browsers and use apps and other things that maybe you haven't heard of as much, but they're from smaller companies that support net neutrality, and making sure that you're, kind of putting your time and money where your mouth is.
There is a website you can go to, actually. It's called battleforthenet.com, I believe. If someone could double check that.
I think I've shared that like 3 times.
And that has a bunch of videos that you can watch. Like there's the what's his name, Oliver, had a really good piece on net neutrality and why it's important. And there's a load of other people that have talked about the issue. And they also have some actions. Like you can always talk to your congressman. And that's good, because we're lucky here. Ron Wyden, the urban senator, this has been one of his big issues. Right? So it feels a little bit redundant calling him sometimes, but he needs to know that his office needs to know what the kind of groundswell of support is in his constituency.
Because calling your senator or your representative or anything like that, it's never a waste of time.
Right.
Even if your senator or representative perfectly matches you politically, right? It's still never a waste of time, because it's just that the maths. Right. That's what really matters.
Yeah, and then I think also educating, obviously that was why we came today too, was just to kind of spread the message. So, if there are people in your life that maybe don't think that's important, share this with them and have them take a look at it.
And there's also an active kind of disinformation campaign as well from Comcast. You see them a lot. They're putting ads out on Twitter, on Facebook. And they're being quite clever about twisting the words a little bit, so it sounds like they're the good guys doing entirely reasonable things.
But you want to be able to pick what you get, and it's that's not what this is.
So we need clear-eyed kind of vision on this, and education as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for coming onto the show talking about this. It's really exciting. I think it went really well.
Good.
So we actually are in the way of the cybersecurity meetup group right now, and their event starts imminently, if not immediately. I think our clocks are a little weird right now, but so thank you very much for joining us. We will continue the show on a second stream, so we're going to close down this stream, go somewhere else,
Okay.
get out of the way, and then Mark and I will probably continue the show. But again, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that'll be the special guest segment, I guess, talking about net neutrality. And stay tuned for the rest of the show if you care.
Yay!